Hey guys, I'm back with Sam. We're across the street from Electric Bicycle Center. It was a little treacherous, but we made it. We've got the Raleigh Tristar. This is their trike. Pretty awesome, to be honest with you. At first I was like, man, does it have 2 batteries? But Sam was like, that's just extra in case you want to lug an extra one around. Is that right?
But it'll lock in place, so you could carry that extra battery for extended range purposes and just swap them out. But the left side battery bank is the one that's actually hooked up to your controller, and all the wiring goes in there. The other is just a dummy, but it does have the slot for it.
I thought that was really ingenious the way they did that, because if you look, I mean, this is a steel mesh basket, and you don't have to worry about scratching the battery or having bumps or anything. It's the battery is completely separate from the basket, and those are some of the main benefits of a trike, in my opinion, electric or otherwise, is stability, right? And then potentially some hauling capacity, because maybe you're an older person and this is how you're going to the grocery or getting around the block and stuff. Those are the 2 big things. What do you think about this platform?
So we've sold a lot of trikes over the years, and again, we started installing kits on trikes back in the 1980s, and I've seen the evolution of the trike over the years, and it's mostly seniors or it's disabled that ride the trikes.
Good point.
And it gives them freedom, and they're no longer dependent on family members or public transportation just to get around and do those local errands back and forth to Trader Joe's or Home Depot or whatever it is they want to do. They don't want to have to call up Access and have them come pick them up from their house and take them. This gives them a lot more freedom, being able to ride around on a trike.
Okay, well I'm gonna hit some specs, and then we're gonna do point, counterpoint. I'm gonna bring something up and you can give me some feedback.
Sure,
Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is a very similar platform, like the frame from here down reminds me a lot of the Raleigh Sprite IE, and that's like a really cool little step-through, approachable, and I like that this one's also approachable, easy to get your leg over. You don't have to lift your legs up really high. The handlebars, if you can see here, the stem's kind of angled and a little bit taller. This is a quill stem. The bars rise and they sweep back a little bit, and the seat, very adjustable. It's 350 millimeters long on that seat post, and you can take it way down if you're someone who's a little shorter and kind of tip those bars back, or you can raise it and get that full leg extension if you're a little bit taller. I love that. I feel like this is a really good, it's comfortable. It's comfortable to sit on this frame, but it only comes in one size. I like the color choice here. It's black with some blue, classic Raleigh colors, but it's heavy. Okay, this thing weighs like 85 pounds. Okay, counterpoint, what do you think?
So most of your trikes before this were lead acid powered, and you think this is heavy. Those were like 116, 125 pound
You're right,
trikes.
yeah.
But in my opinion, a trike, like a sailboat, needs ballast.
That's true.
So to me, for years and years, I preached you don't need an expensive lithium battery on a trike, because just throw your lead acid battery in there and it's going to keep you from flipping over. That's that ballast you want down low on the bottom of your sailboat down there.
That's a great point. And to that point, the battery pack on this, it's removable. You can slide it out really easily. You can charge it separately. I've got the charger right here. It's kind of a basic 2 amp, weighs about 1.8 pounds. I like that the charging piece right here is metal. It's a little bit more sturdy if it gets dropped or whatever. And look, it hardly takes up any room in the basket. We had the manual here. We were studying this earlier. Anyway, the battery is about, 7.5 pounds or something like that?
Sounds about right.
So easy to carry. Slide out, carry it inside if you want to, and maybe you park this in your garage or something. Bringing the battery somewhere else to charge it is nice, and those lead acid ones were so heavy.
Yeah, you would leave it in there all the time. You just charge your battery on the bike. They were so heavy when putting them down into the bikes, sometimes you'd actually break the cradle the battery casing, and we'd have to rebuild them for the people. There was a point I wanted to make about...
I'm sorry, did I cut you?
No, you're good. If you look at the battery and the motor and the display, this is actually repurposed from some of the other lineup from both the iZip brand and the Raleigh brand. So It's great that they're repurposing these, and it's a modular design. Same battery, same motor, same display.
And they're good. This is actually a really zippy platform. It feels great even on a 2-wheel bicycle, and I think it's probably capable of going 20 miles per hour and climbing pretty well, but they've governed it down, I think, to about 15 miles per hour. I did a little ride test a minute ago, and that was your point about the ballast. Like, you don't want to tip, And
it's the best handling trike I've ever sold, quite honestly. I think the 24-inch wheel in the front and the 20-inch wheels in the back, that being 31 inches wide, 1 inch shorter than an average doorway, so you can fit through. And look at these little points down here, Court. So instead of whacking, in the past, always the nut is the furthest thing out on your trike, and you hit that on your entryway and you damage your doors.
Yeah.
With this, you'll just bounce off.
Yeah, and it's just a plastic cup on both sides. Yeah. I love that. There's a lot of nice touch points here, including this super, super big saddle. I was trying to figure out who makes this. It's like bird snake or something. I don't know what that logo is. Maybe that's the Raleigh crest or something. I don't know. That's but check it out. Ergonomic grips, very nice. We've got a little bit larger platform pedals with rubber grip on them, so they're a little more comfortable. And if you slip off, like if it's raining and you slip off like this and you hit your shin, you're not going to get all cut up. And you can see I have some scars on my shins from mountain biking. Fenders, these are steel fenders, and they look really nice. They're polished, they're silver, and they're steel, so they're pretty sturdy. But you have to be careful with those, and especially with the chain guard over here. It's also steel, color match to the frame. Sturdy, but it could get bent a little easier. If you scratch it, there could be a little bit of rust. I don't know if you have a counterpoint for that. I'm just giving people a tip.
You were right on the crest. Check out the front here. This is the crest for Raleigh, and that's what's on the seat. So you nailed it, Court, right there.
Nice.
Hey,
score.
Let me mention some other things about riding trikes.
Okay.
A lot of people make the mistake of they think it's going to be easy to ride a trike, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. And what we do for customers is we put them in the parking lot and let them practice some figure eights, because they'll get a little bit of confidence up, and then they take off down the road, and the first time they have to make an evasive move, they end up crashing. And it's at that age group, you don't break a hip.
Yeah.
The other thing is when you're on a trike, I equate it to being in a submarine. You go down with it. So don't try to bail, because the minute you try to bail or put your foot down, the back end is going to run you over, and that's when your leg gets caught, your foot gets caught, and it'll actually pull you off. So always keep your feet on the pedals when you're riding a trike. Very important.
So some safety features that they've designed on this trike. The front wheel, this is 24 inches. It's a little bit wider. It's going to kind of raise that height of just the frame. I think it's going to be a little bit smoother. There's no suspension fork or anything. This is just steel. So having a little bit more air and a wider diameter, it spans cracks instead of bumping into them. But in the rear, we've got 20 inches. So 24 in the front, 20 in the rear. That makes them a little stronger for hauling cargo and stuff. And there's two of them, and it kind of lowers that rear end. So the safety features I wanted to point out were 160 millimeter disc brake mechanical in the rear. That's cool. A lot of trikes don't have that, any disc brake kind of features. And then we've got a classic linear pull brake in the front. Both of them mechanical. Both of them have motor inhibitors. So you're telling me about the parking brake, Sam. Do you want to show me how that works?
So if I let off on it, my trike will just start rolling away. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa. So for parking purposes, just set those, and you can step off your trike, and it's not going to roll away on you.
That's a great point.
That's been around for a while, though. That's a common thing that you see on this particular type of vehicle. Because being a trike, you don't put a kickstand down. It's always, sitting on 3 points.
That's an excellent point. It's the counterpoint to that stability thing I was talking about earlier. You can get on this bike and you can load it without worrying about it tipping, but it can roll away. So having those parking brakes and one on each lever is really nice. Also, this is a purpose-built trike. So many times, like I've seen converted trikes, kits and stuff, and this one's a little more polished.
That's exactly what it's at. A lot of people too are going to continue to convert trikes because of the price point.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a minute. When I started doing trikes, it was Palmer Industries, and then we started selling the Curry trike. And at one point, the Curry trike was priced at $899. Couldn't keep them in stock. I mean, it was our best-selling item online that we sold, and they shipped all across the nation.
Wow.
Most people that are buying this trike too perhaps are on a fixed income, so they can only afford a certain price point.
Good point.
Once the price went over $1,500, our sales were decimated, and they stopped. But if you buy a kit, you could still motorize your trike. This is the nicest, polished, best handling trike I've ever put on my showroom floor, and yes, you're going to pay for that at a retail price of $2,600.
Yeah.
Another thing, this is the most complicated bike we've ever put together. So if you're buying this online, you want to make sure, unless you're a mechanical engineer or you're very handy, a MacGyver kind of guy, it literally took us like an hour and a half to put this thing together.
What were the hard parts?
There was just so many little pieces to it. the sensor and the subframe, and there's subframes and sensors on other, not sensors necessarily, but the brakes, the drivetrain, everything about it just took a lot longer for us to put together. And it was the first one we put together.
Sure.
I'm sure as we put more together, we could do it quicker.
And you want to do a professional job. Like, you know, this is
these
for
have
sale.
to be adjusted properly for them to work right.
So the back to like purpose built here, this is all internally routed. And you see this extra cable? I think it's pre-wired for lights, Sam.
It could be.
You see that? A lot of times there's like a 6-volt lead or something. You could add some lights. The display is backlit and it has a light sensor on it. So if it gets dark, it sort of automatically lights up. It's fairly large, easy to read, not removable, but it's well protected by these bars, and I don't know if that's as much a problem. A lot of times with mountain bikes and stuff, electric mountain bikes, I'm like, oh, you know, might want to take that off before you bomb the hill, or people who are commuting and leaving this at work all day. But for someone who's retired or a little bit older, it's simpler this way. It's pretty clean. The button pad is easy to reach up here. It's all fairly accessible, and I love how the weight is kept low in center. We haven't even talked about the drivetrain yet. This has an internally geared 3-speed Sturmey Archer, and you can shift at standstill. So remember I talked about how this is heavier, 85 pounds. If you have to stop at a light or something like that, it's nice to be able to kind of shift down. This is a very responsive motor, and there's an optional button throttle that you can get too to add on.
And most people that get trikes just use the throttle only, and they don't even try to pedal it. It's just like a platform that they sit on to get from point A to point B, and they use that throttle. This is probably, again, the nicest. If I had to pedal a trike, this bike is the most intuitive. It's very smooth and linear in its power delivery. I love this trike. It's awesome.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. When I got on it, I was kind of surprised like how zippy it is. And just back to the weight being positioned low, having that easy step-through frame, it's kind of neat. I really appreciate your perspective on this, and I feel like you're very fair as someone who sells this, but also working with the customer base for all these years. You want to jump into the display with me real quick?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Here, so,
Has it gone to sleep yet?
I think it might have. The other complaint it's like you put the battery on, do we turn it to the right to lock it? Is that locked now? And now I can pull the key out.
Yep.
I can pull the key out, do it, but we have to push the power button to get it to go, right? So I press the power button. So that's a little bit, for someone who might bending down and reaching back here, it's not quite as accessible. But maybe it's not going to get damaged. I don't know.
It takes a while for that to go to sleep, though. So if you go into a store and come back out, you may be able to just power it back up from the handlebar and not have to turn this on again. I don't know how many minutes it takes for the battery to go to sleep, but once you've powered it on, you can go away from the bike and come back, and it might still be powered up. If not, and you can't get it powered up there, come back here and hit the button again and get it to wake back up again.
Yeah, so like I was saying, it's like there's a couple steps here, but this is a little bit more tamper resistant. If someone's just messing around with your bike for whatever reason, trying to get it to start and they haven't powered it on in the back, might not work. So I'm just trying to get, there we go. Hopefully the display is legible for you guys. You got a bunch of different readouts here. Odometer is set right now, but if I press these little boxes, it cycles through and goes to trip meter and range. And range is really cool. Right now we're in level 0, but if I arrow up, it says, okay, in level 1, the weakest assist, it can go 27 miles based on a not even full battery. It's at like 75% right now. If I arrow up to 2, 21, 3, 15, and 4, that's the strongest, it estimates 8 miles. That's still a pretty good ride, 8 miles before you'd have to charge it, not even full. I did notice that when you try to arrow all the way down to 0 again, it doesn't reach it on its own. You have to hold the power button for a couple seconds, and now we're at 0. So that's just a quick pro tip, I guess. And then the other big feedback about this is when we're switching over to speed, that's where I tend to leave mine. I can see how fast I'm going. It's just kind of fun. Again, fairly large, a little bit of a swivel so you can adjust it if it's glaring in your eyes. Did I miss anything, Sam? Do you have any feedback?
Yeah, so I think most people that get a trike aren't looking to go touring 40 miles,
Right.
It's taxing riding a trike that far. They're looking just to get down to the strip mall, they want to get from their residential area to the closest area they can do their shopping. But if you did want to go further distance, you do have that option. So take those range numbers you gave them and double them by just adding a second battery. If you do want to go further, if you suffer from range anxiety.
Just bring the charger. Again, this is not the world's fastest charger, it's average, but you can, if the battery's empty, the first half charges super fast. Like in an hour or hour and a half, you can almost half fill the battery. If
Just stop in. I've actually met people at the local supermarket next to the water machine with their senior mobility scooter, and they were plugged in out there. And I was like, hey, what's going on? And I could relate to him because my old man had one. I knew exactly what he was doing.
That's cool.
And I kind of just hung out and talked to him for a little bit, kept him company.
That's nice. Yeah. Kind of social.
So you can do that with this too.
That's what I love about bicycles, and even, you know, those mobility scooters or something like this that's maybe transition from, it's not quite as heavy or expensive as a true mobility scooter, but it doesn't have reverse, and it's not, I mean, I think it's fairly durable, but you got bicycle tires on this and stuff. You know, it's nice to get this from a shop where you could get some help with it.
I had a guy come in this morning, and he was mentioning that his neighbor's husband had just passed away, and he had a Palmer big scooter, and he was figuring out he'd lost his license, how to get across this park, and it couldn't be anything with a gasoline engine. His license was suspended. Perfect for the 90-year-old guy that's just no more license. You know, this is it. This is how you get around. That's
a great point, and it's social, and you know, we're here in Southern California in Fullerton, and it's beautiful. So most of the time you could ride this, but again, those fenders keep you dry. Love the oversized reflectors. Got 2 of them. We've got a nice reflector up here at the front, and considering that this has a little bit of a more complex drive system, a mid-drive, I love that they went with that Sturmey Archer internally geared hub, because you don't have to worry about derailleurs and things that could get bumped that are more sensitive. This is fairly durable. Just the way it's set up, it's really protected. The disc brake. I think it might be time to hop on this thing and ride it, Sam.
I want to make one other point before you go for a ride.
Yeah.
A trike, a lot of times, person is going to come up to a really steep driveway. So what you're looking for, and that 3-speed is all you need.
Yeah.
And the key word with this whole setup is torque. You want to be able to take off from a dead stop and climb that 15 or 20% grade up your driveway from a dead stop. And that does that with this. This is a very torquey, it's got that mid-drive motor, and it's programmed specifically for the end user climbing those steep, short inclines.
I wish they would have included the throttle with this one.
Yeah,
I feel like that's going to be a popular accessory.
I think it should be mandatory, quite honestly.
Yeah, for you know, like for what this is. I mean, my knee hurts, and I'm not super old yet. You know, I can only imagine.
What this does is, if you don't put the throttle on, it forces them to get some exercise. And the
That's
more
true.
the seniors rely on their scooters and not pedaling, the more
get tight and constricted.
Yeah, they just lose their mobility. So keep them out there exercising. Great platform right here.
Keep on pedaling, guys.
Yeah.
We believe in you.
Don't get on that senior mobility scooter. Get an electric trike with pedal assist.
I'm gonna hop on this. I'm gonna do some pedaling of my own, just up and down the sidewalk. But before we do, would you push this? We have a ramp right here, and I wanted to see if it fit.
So it's already gone to sleep on us. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it back on by hitting this button here. And then you have to wait for it to go through its programming.
Oh, and it has this cool error thing. Like if there's ever a problem, a little wrench shows up and there's a code, so you can call your shop and get some help. I think that's a neat feature.
So I don't have my helmet on, Court, but I'm going to go for it.
Go extra slow.
So I've scaled back to level 1, and then I'm just putting a very little bit of torque on the pedal, and it's kicking in for me, and around the corner I'll go, and up the hill.
Nice, look at that. Yeah, it fits really well. Whoa, take the steps. Look how tight that thing turns, man.
Yeah, so I was in level 4 there, and when you're taking these tight corners and things, keep that power level down.
Yeah.
So it doesn't like surprise you and jump away. And then again, I'm on my submarine, I don't want to put my foot down ever, and I take my corner and I keep my feet on the pedals, and then away I go around the corner here.
Look at him go. Hey, take off, man. Do you want to hit the 15?
Okay, I'm powering up now to level 4, and I'm shifting up to a higher gear.
It's pretty zippy when you take it all the way up to the highest level of assist. And look, how much do you weigh, Sam?
I'm 260. It's amazingly powerful. I love this. This is the best trike I've ever seen in my store in 30 years of selling electric bikes and installing kits. This is premium, no doubt.
They've really come a long way, haven't they?
Absolutely. Now it's time for you to get on it, Court.
My turn. I'm gonna show you the motor up close. I think that's kind of neat. Some people are worried about noise and about, you know, how powerful is this thing. He put me at level 2. One of the things I like about it is that you can actually pedal backwards. Some trikes have that coaster brake, but this one has really good, you know, pretty easy to use hand brakes. There you go. Really smooth. up to about 10 miles per hour. I can hear a little bit of jingling, just the basket, got that charger in there. Very upright, comfortable, easy to ride. That's one of my favorite parts, just the handlebar position and this comfortable saddle. Not bad. Well, I think I might head back and say hey to Sam, taking these turns extra slow, being careful, trying to enjoy myself and show you those higher speeds. But, you know, I think that 15 mile per hour limit makes a lot of sense. Wouldn't want to go too much faster than that. Okay guys, it's a little bit quieter over here and I wanted to give you some up close views, so I'm gonna pedal along. I'm gonna go through the different levels, maybe you'll be able to hear the motor and kind of look at the chain and just how the bike performs. On that last part there, you might have heard the motor cut out. It's because we hit 15 miles per hour. I was still pedaling, but it wasn't gonna boost me any faster than that, just for safety. Also, I wanna mention that the drivetrain only pulls on this right wheel. You're pedaling and the mid-drive, it pulls on this wheel only. The other one spins freely. So that's interesting. I think it probably simplifies the rear end a little bit. I don't know if you get too much more wear on this tire. Fairly standard size, so it'd be easy to replace at some point if you need to get a new one. And they're all pre-slimed, so it's designed to, you know, be able to inflate it again and maybe self-seal a little bit if you end up, you know, taking a thorn or something like that. And that's kind of nice. Switch my gears, so I'm down in the first one. It's the easiest to start with. And pedal assist level 2 right now. Nice and smooth. With how quiet it is. I could hardly hear it when I was near those cars before. Now I'm going up to level 4. I switched gears all the way up to 3, so this is the highest speed, most power. I was a little bit surprised about, it doesn't seem like these brake levers have motor inhibitors. A lot of times with cadence sensor like is on this drive, you want to be able to cut the motor by pulling the brakes. It's kind of a safety thing, and I thought it had them, but it doesn't. So if you're pedaling and you're braking at the same time, the bike could still be kind of going. And maybe that's why they have a button throttle versus a trigger or twist, because you actually have to push on that button, reach over. And unfortunately, I don't have it here today to show you. But I'm gonna try to demonstrate the braking thing, just so that you can be extra aware. I'm gonna brake lightly and I'm gonna pedal. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm fighting the motor a little bit. So I definitely start in those lower levels of assist to start out with, level 1 or level 2. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Court, I want to leave the consumer with one last thought.
Okay.
When riding a trike, don't be in a hurry. There is a learning curve to it. And some people get frustrated that ride bicycles and think they're gonna know how to ride a tricycle. It takes a little bit of time to get the hang of how it works. And most trikes, you cannot take a corner more than 3 miles an hour or you'll start to lift the outside wheel.
Yeah.
So take your time, practice your figure eights. The age group they're riding these, we're concerned for them, and you just ride with a level of caution because it is it does have some speed to it, and you want to be able to get that feeling down and get your level of confidence up before you go out there into the street with it or down the sidewalks.
That's a good point.
And the sidewalks are filled with all kinds of things that can happen. You think you're going to clear that bus bench and you might catch it, or you might catch that pole or something.
Yeah.
So go slow, take it easy.
I think the caps would help with that, but you're totally right. I was braking and filming, and I was impressed with how well the brakes worked, even one-handed. Definitely want to slow down. Sometimes it's fun, depending on your athleticism, to go like, oh, I'm on 2 wheels, and it's kind of thrilling. But yeah, like you said, crashing on a trike, crashing on anything is not fun. I appreciate your care. I'll have all the specs on this. I measured it, so like the width, the height, all those other things, standover height, that's back at the site, ElectricBikeReview.com. Again, thank you so much, Sam. That's your shop. We're here at Electric Bicycle Center, and what's your website?
ElectricBicycleCenter.com.
Easy.
Yeah.
Rock on, buddy.
All right.
See you next time.
Take care, guys.